Okay, so Unity 2018 is here, still the beta version, but there are some awesome features in the new versions, and one of the features I'm excited is this new shader graph tool. Basically, it's a visual programming tool for shaders, such plugins such as Amplify Shader or Shader Forge, but in 2018 it seems like this visual scripting tool for shaders is gonna be implemented natively. That's an awesome news. And it says that in order to try this shader for 2018 beta, I need to install this sample project, so I already downloaded and opened it here. So let me try using it as an intro, how I can use this tool. So first let's make some folders like shaders and materials, scenes, and let's save this scene as a main scene, and let's give a sphere and give a material. Let's name it bubble. And if you right click on the folder, on the navigator outline, you'll see on the create, we'll see a shader graph on the option. So let's choose that. Let's name it bubble shader. I'm gonna make a bubble, obviously. And let's put the bubble shader, it's on under the graphs, bubble shader. Okay. And let's open the shader editor, clicking this button, and let's start making a shader. First of all, I would like to use a Fresnel. I think it has it, Fresnel effect. And in order to use it, I need to have a normal and a view direction. So let's first get a view direction. On here, I'm right clicking the canvas and create node, and if I search for normal, there's normal vectors. Maybe I can put it here. And there's another parameter, power. I guess I wanna put it as a parameter on outside, like here, to make it able to change it externally. So by clicking the properties, add, and this time it's a one vector value, so it's float. I'll name it power. My default value is 1.5, and right click, create node, and search for the property, which will import the property power and place it here. Right, so now I have the Fresnel effect. Now I also want to be able to set the color, so I'll make a color property. Let's make it default a blue color with a little bit of transparency. Yeah, since it's gonna be a bubble, I won't like to use the transparent, so right now the option is override, but let's change it to alpha blend. Should be able to make it be able to use alpha channel for transparency. And let's create a node, another property, import color and put it to, well, first of all to albedo as a color. And I also want to use the alpha channel for this color, so let's create node and split the vector to RGBA, and I only need alpha channel for the transparency, so I'll use this. And I would like to multiply that alpha channel with the Fresnel effect. Yeah, and or maybe, well, since I want to make let's try putting it to alpha channel first, and let's save it and see how it goes. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Well, I want to make it more light, I guess, so let's not use the multiply here, but use the addition here. Right, and well, right now since I'm using addition, the value could go more than once, so I'll use a clamp to set the value in between 0 to 1. Yep, and let's put it into the alpha channel and save it. Now let's try changing some parameters, power and color. So if I look at the sphere, there's the parameter, 2 parameters is exposed like this. If I change the power like this, it is changing. And if I change the color or the transparency, looks good, yeah. So it is good for the bubble base, I think, right now. Let's make it 1.5. And so let's make one more property so that the bubble can fade in and fade out, so that I can make a bubble effect like goes from the bottom to top and fade in and fade out. Okay, let's do that thing. So I think I would like to fade in and fade out based on the position of the bubble, maybe the Y position. So let's right click, create node, and search for the object. And there is a property called position of the object, so I'll use that. I'll first split the vector position and the G position. The RGBG should stand out for Y position, so I'm gonna use that. And I think I have to set the minimum Y position and maximum Y position, so let's make that property here. Let's name the first float to be min Y. Or yeah, and add another one, max Y, and I'll set the minimum Y value to be 0 and maximum Y value to be 10. Okay, let's save it and let's get that property. The min Y and the max Y. Okay, and let's use that to remap this position value. I think there is a remap node. Yep. So change the Y position to using the source is in between this and this. So let's create combine x minimum Y, maximum Y. This will make 4 vectors, but I'm just gonna use first 2. If I connect to this, I think it automatically converts to 2 vectors, vector 2. And I also need to change the fading value. I would like it to be when the position on the minimum or the maximum, I want it to fade out. Means to make it transparent, so which should be 0. And other than that, it could go more than 0. So the easiest way I could use is to use sine, I think. So in order to use sine, let's first make a constant and get a pi. Pi means 180 degrees. And let's make a combine to make a new vector, 2 vectors. So the first one will be 0, the second one will be pi, so it's in between 0 to pi. And I'll put it here. Now that I remap from 0 to 10 range to 0 to pi range. Now after that, I could use a sine component or node to change it to 0 to 1, and it should gives you 0 when the value is on minimum or maximum, and in between minimum and maximum it will give more than 0. maximum 1. So I'll use that value to be multiplied by the alpha channel, the current alpha channel, and put it here and save this. Now it got transparent since the sphere is on the 0 position, the y is 0, so let's close this first and move this manually. And yes, it's gradually fading in and fading away. Okay, awesome. Now let's make a simple script to like appear randomly from the floor and goes up and disappear to make it more interesting. Okay, let's make this sphere as a prefab. I'll put it to the prefab. Oops. I'll put it to the prefab folder, and let's also make a scripts folder. I'll make 2 new script. One is bubble and one is bubble controller. Okay, let's make a empty game object here and put the bubble controller here and put the bubble to the sphere, and let's apply this. I'll just delete this thing and I'll open the bubble controller. Okay, so I'll make a parameter to put a bubble prefab. And what else would I need? I think I also need a float value, time span, like time span of the new bubble creation. Let's make it 1 as a default, the value. And let's make an coroutine. I don't know, let's call it bubbling. And let's use while true so that it runs infinitely, and using the time span, wait for seconds. And let's make a instance of the bubble. And bubble instance, transform the initial position to be random position. So I'll use random range. What's the difference? I'll just use random range from -5 to 5, the height is 0, starts from 0, and random range 5f. Okay. This should be good to start, and let's start coroutine to start the bubbling when the game starts. Okay. Now I also need to update, change the function of the bubble so that it goes up by itself. So let's make a function on the void update, translate new vector 3, something like 0.1f 1, and if transform position y, if the height is larger than like 10, then destroy self. Okay, now it should be good. Save this, and on the game object I'll put the bubble in the prefab, and time span right now it's 1. Okay, it is showing something, and if I look at carefully, it is like fade in and fade out. Now let's make the time span a little bit shorter, like 0.1. Oh yeah. Oh yes, it is working. Okay, now let's set up the camera color to white and camera position to be 5 here. And maximum on play. Let's make it faster. 0.1. Alright. So yeah, the shader, making shader is pretty easy using this shader graph tool. And pretty similar to the existing visual programming tool for shaders like Shader Forge or Amplify Shaders. So anyone who's using it, I think you can jump in almost immediately. Yeah. Okay, that's it.